guys, it's Kathleenums here, and today I'm reviewing a game that literally blew my mind. So I'm of course reviewing Bioshock Infinite today. In Bioshock Infinite, you play as Booker DeWitt, who is a former Pinkerton agent, and you are given the task to rescue Elizabeth from a tower in a floating city called Columbia. Now, right off the bat, this has one of the most living and original and inventive worlds that I've ever encountered in games. And I want to talk about whether or not this lived up to the previous Bioshock and the legacy of that game. The twist of Bioshock is just completely classic, and this game comes back and it brings back some of those elements that made Bioshock great, but in a very original and different way. So did it live up to all the hype? Is it deserving of all of the positive reviews that it got? I would say yes, it is. There were some things that I had problems with, which I'm going to discuss in this review. This will be a completely spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to go too far into the details of the story, but I will later do an analysis of the ending and possibly some of the characters, so stay tuned. So first of all, I want to talk about the environment, which is one of the most compelling and amazing aspects of this game. It has one of the most living and creative and inventive worlds I've ever seen. It really takes the whole steampunk idea and demonstrates it in an amazingly inventive way. And if you've ever, if you've read steampunk novels and have a lot of interest in the steampunk genre like I do, you know that a big theme in steampunk is absurdity. It's like this inventiveness and this desire to create and invent things that are almost kind of ridiculous, like a city floating in the sky. If you think about that, the practical implications of that are kind of silly, but it's all about kind of showing the progress of mankind and showing how much man can create. A lot of stories are kind of overusing this steampunk thing because it's kind of a fad nowadays, and instead of just latching onto the steampunk genre because it's a fad, Bioshock actually expresses it in a way that's very true to the genre and original on its own as well. And what's also amazing about this environment is that it's so detailed, not so much the graphics, especially if you're playing on the Xbox and PS3, the graphics don't cut it. It just doesn't work on the current generation consoles, and if you are choosing what you're going to play this game on, I would recommend that you play it on the PC if you have a PC. If you don't, just play it on whatever console you have. I played it on the Xbox, but the details, they put so much effort into the propaganda posters, into the voxophones, the audio recordings that you can find. There's 80 different audio recordings that you can find throughout the world.
Need is there for a redeemer, without sin.
And I realized that after I revisited this world, because I started my second playthrough right after finishing the first playthrough. You will sit there and just linger on the details of this game because there is so much detail. If you just go through and follow the path that you need to follow, then you're totally missing out, because the environment is what makes it so special. The music is also amazing, and it goes so well with the environment.
Hey! Knock it off! Stop it! Will you stop it? Not here to hurt you.
Who are you?
My name is DeWitt. I'm a friend. come to get you out of here.
Get away! Are you real?
I'm real enough.
So now I'm going to talk about story, but only briefly because I don't want to spoil anything. I will tell you though that the pacing of this story is perfect. The moment you enter Colombia and the time you're given to explore it before all of these other conflicts are revealed and different characters are revealed is so perfect. I absolutely loved the pacing. And the gameplay is put in all of the right times too, so it feels as though there's enough action going on, but after there's a ton of action, there's some story going on, so it's a bit of a relief and a bit of a break from all of the explosive action. There's also so many conflicts going on, what with racism and religious extremism and all this themes of time and reality, and there's just so many different themes going on and so many different conflicts that the whole time as I was playing I was like, okay, so where's the twist? Where's the twist? Because you know there's going to be a twist if you played the other Bioshock games. That's what the first game did so well. So here I am trying to figure out what the twist is, but there's so many different conflicts that I can't really sort out what's really going on. And when the conclusion actually happened, it was so shocking. It just blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. That's all I'm gonna say about story, so I don't spoil anything. Now I'm gonna talk about gameplay. Now, I had really high expectations for gameplay because I've seen tons of footage in the last couple of years of the skylines and the new combat. Now, the combat is very similar to Bioshock. You have powers and guns, but it is a little bit different. You have, the powers are now called vigors, and you have a lot more guns to choose from. However, you can only select 2 guns and 2 powers at a time, and this might limit you to deciding which guns really work best for you and which powers work best for you. I felt like there was a lot of different powers, but most of them were very similar, and it was just a matter of preference. You didn't really need all of the powers, and that's, I guess, why they limited you to 2, because it's really just a matter of what you prefer. Now, the fact that we can only have 2 guns was kind of aggravating, but I know that they were just kind of trying to push us to pick which guns we preferred to play with and pick our gameplay style. Unfortunately, I spent the majority of the game trying to figure out which guns I liked the best, and you kind of find new guns along the way, so you kind of have to figure out what you like the best. So that was a little bit frustrating, but it did feel like playing Bioshock from the combat. It's just a little more open and a little less dark. I mean, in the original Bioshock, you're fighting through these very creepy, dark, kind of tight spaces.
Clean it up! Clean it up!
And in this game, there's just a lot more enemies, and it's definitely more action-packed, but it still feels very much like Bioshock. Now, you also have skylines, and I was really looking forward to this. You can use skylines to transport from place to place, but you can also use them to attack people. You can latch onto them and do a skyline attack, and your enemies will use them as well. Now, Elizabeth also offered a great addition to the combat, and this is why I loved Elizabeth's character. It wasn't so much about how much she grew as a character in the game. It wasn't just about that. It was about how she protected him as well. He was rescuing her, but in combat, she was like a guardian. She provides you ammo and health when you need it, and she'll open up tears.
Opening a tear!
Oh, shit! What is that?
It's a tear. I used to open them all the time in my tower.
What is a tear?
It's like a window. A window to another world. Most of the time they're dull as dishwater, a different colored towel or tea instead of coffee. But sometimes I see something amazing, and I pull it through.
She can bring things in from different places like cover and turrets and even ammo and guns, and she can bring things in for you. You just select what you want her to bring and she'll help you in combat. And having her along was really cool because it was kind of like having a guardian there watching over you and helping you the entire time, instead of us just trying to have to protect her and rescue her like Bioshock 2. Those missions where you had to watch over the little sisters were so incredibly annoying, but I'm so glad that they didn't take that route with this game. So there's also different heavy hitters in this game. In Bioshock, it was mostly just the Big Daddy that was the biggest challenge, but in this game, you have motorized patriots. There's also the handymans. These guys are really, really challenging because they take a lot of damage and they will keep charging at you until you kill them. They will, when their attacks literally take down your shields in one blow. Not only that, you can jump onto the skylines, but you won't be able to avoid them on the skylines and just kind of dart around because they'll jump onto the skylines and shock you. So you can only be on there for a limited time before they attack you. So it's like literally no place is sacred. You have to run from these guys and attack them and kill them as soon as possible. And there's a lot of other heavy hitters, which I won't describe, that come along later in the story and make it very challenging. And overall, the gameplay was a lot more challenging than Bioshock and had a lot more diversity in terms of heavy hitters and a lot of different ways to play and approach the game. You could play the game again and play it in a number of different ways. I will say, though, that the last mission is a total, excuse my French, pain in the ass. It was the most ridiculous last boss fight, or whatever you want to call it. It was ridiculous. I played it over and over and over again and just decided to go and put it on an easier level because I was so frustrated. For those of you who really want a challenge, there's a hidden mode called 1999 mode, which is a mode that you can unlock in the main screen or play the entire game and then unlock. So if you really want a mode that is very challenging and will make you pull your hair out, then try 1999 mode, but be warned, it is really, really difficult. So, did this game live up to all the hype of E3, the resaw in 2010, 2011? Did it live up to all the footage? In many ways, yes. However, I do have to mention that, like, none of the gameplay footage that we saw at E3 was in this game. None of it. I mean, they did use some of the lines, but they changed it a little bit. I mean, what about this footage? Or this footage? Or this trailer that came out a few days, or at least a month before the actual game came out? It had literally nothing to do with the game. And games do this a lot, and I know it's because they probably changed their mind about where the story's going, and they probably make last-minute decisions right before the game's released, and I'm glad they did. It probably was for the better. I'm guessing they decided to take a different route with it than they originally decided to take. It almost seemed like from the trailers that they were putting a lot of emphasis on decisions and you making decisions throughout the game. And they took a step back from that. They're like, you know what? We're just gonna follow a story that leads you up in the same place no matter what. And I like that they did that, because the problem that you can sometimes have with decision-based games is that it kind of punishes you sometimes. It's like, oh, sorry, you chose the bird Nicholas instead of the cage Nicholas. Screw you. You know, that would have been really horrible if they had done that. So they did take a different route than they originally planned, and they did change a lot of footage. Maybe we'll see some of this footage in future DLC. I think I might just buy the season pass because I want to play every bit of DLC this game has. And I think it's going to have 3 story-based game add-ons. So I'm hoping those will all be story-based. I've heard that that's what the plan is. So I'm probably going to buy a season pass. I never bought a season pass before, but I'm probably going to end up buying it because I know I'm going to want to play all of the DLCs. But that's just a pet peeve of mine that it happens. That happened with Deus Ex as well. Deus Ex, the footage that they showed us was not in the game at all. It was not in the game. And I guess they decided to take a different route with it, but I'd like to hear an explanation as to why they took that content out. I'd like to actually hear from the developers, like, what happened to that content. So, other than that, the game was amazing. You need this game. I never rate games, but I feel like in order to, like, prove how amazing this game is, I would probably give this game, like, a 9.5 out of 10. It's that good. So I never rate games because I really just want to, the way I rate games is I say whether or not the game is worth buying, and that's how I pretty much rate a game. And I would say, yes, this game is definitely worth buying, and it's something that is just a classic to me, and this game is going to be discussed for a long time. I know a lot of reviewers have been saying this, but it will. It has the type of story that provokes discussion. So I will be discussing some of the more spoilery aspects of the game and the ending in another video. So if you want to see what I have to say about that, remember to subscribe. But anyways, I should go. Now, would you kindly comment on and like this video? Picture inside. Let's see what's in here. Oh my god, I'm so excited! I apologize for the excessive fangirling. Comes with this keychain.